Hello there, Assalamualaikum, Salam Ramadan, everybody. My name is Suhaimi. I'm from Airbag Trading Department. Thank you, Tony, for the welcome. I'll be moderating the session today. I'm glad to welcome our special guest, Encik Muhammad Nazri bin Haji Saidun, who will be present how to protect your business organization from money laundering activities. Mr. Nazri, can you please say hello, Mr. Nazri, to the audience?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum. Hi.
Great to
Okay.
hear from you. Alhamdulillah. Uh, Salam Ramadan, Cik Nazri.
Ya, Assalamualaikum. Ya.
Thank you for coming to this webinar. Okay, suspicious activities and dirty money, all these are hot topic nowadays. Is something is it something that we should be concerned about because we from the case study we have seen Nick Deason versus Bearing Banks, the wrongdoings where this guy who is about 28 years of age, very young guy working in Singapore, but cost billion of dollars of the money banks when the bank went bankruptcy overnight. And we have the Teshide Iguchi, the Daiwa Bank, same goes here. He has lost the company's money more than 1 billion. And recently we have the Roger Ng, former head of Goldman Sachs, which have been convicted for helping in the world biggest financial corruption scandals. So, Mr. Lamji, he is someone I should say a real life social liberator. He's a AML activist who have been work closely with government agencies, multi corporations, and NGOs, and highly passionate subject matter expert. Nazri has a master degree in media and information warfare and bachelor in law. Interesting. He's working on his PhD now on this topic, the role of financial intelligence unit in combating money laundering, terrorism financing between Malaysia, Australia, and Indonesia. I think this is a very serious topic. Mr. Nazir also have worked with many banks, including Bank Negara Malaysia. This is very interesting. Bank Negara Malaysia as a financial investigator. So this carry weight on how it's going to elaborate on the topic. Without further delay, let me present you our special guest, Cik Nazri. Cik Nazri, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Cik Suhaimi and also back. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Salam Ramadan to my Muslim colleague. Okay, before I start, let me share my slide first, yeah. Hold on. Okay. Okay, uh, for today's discussion, basically, I'm not going to teach you guys, but just to share to you guys some of the key point, because I know that every organizations, every business, they have their own prospect, business projection, and so on. And at the same time, regardless whatever business entities, GLCs, in fact the NGO itself, including yayasan and so on, so there is a possibility, probability that someone might be abusing the organization for money laundering activities. So today I will share to you guys some of the point, and the most important part, okay, what we have to do, what we need to do to protect our organization. So that will be some of the agendas for today's discussion. Yeah. Okay. So I will share to you guys. Okay. Some of the point when we talk about money laundering. Okay, I would like to make it clear because most of people would say that when we talk about money laundering, is only refer to corruptions. Because when we can see that from the trend on in starting from 2017, a lot of charges and also prosecution cases which has been executed and been charged in court by the MSCC. So that's why most of the most of the Malaysians entrepreneur, businessmen and so on, so they thought that when we talk about money laundering, it's only covered on corruption. So I will share to you guys, actually money laundering is not only meant for corruption. And how the money laundering can be categorized, or how would be the business activity or the transaction that can be categorized as the money laundering. So I will share to you guys some of the key points on the money laundering and the ML CFT regime in Malaysia. So of course, most of you guys would like to ask and also would like to know, when we say about AMLA in Malaysia, who is or which is the competent authority? Because people would say that, is it the MACC? Is it the PDRM, the AMLA team? Or is it the Bank Negara or AC? So I will share to you guys what will be the ML structures or the framework in Malaysia. And also lastly, I will share the impact of the money laundering and also 4 steps to protect your business and organization. Of course, this within 45 minutes, I will cannot cover everything, but at least I can give an overview to you guys. So I believe that might be some of the participants audience are from the financial institution, which is quite familiar with the money laundering. So at the same time also, it will give benefit to our colleagues, to the other audience who are from other sectors, especially from the GLCs, from the private sectors and so on. Okay, I just want to make it kata apa, some sort of informal session lah, just to share to you guys. When we say about the wording of money laundering, ataupun in bahasa we call as a pengubahan wang haram, so most of people will say, is it cuci wang, money laundering? So the answer would be yes. As a layman, we say that yeah, pengubahan wang haram or money laundering is quite high level punya definitions. But from a layman perspective, from masyarakat Malaysia umumnya, we would say that actually money laundering is a cuci wang. Okay, I just nak highlight to you guys that a few years back, when there was one individual who has been arrested and be charged in court. Why? Because suspect involved in corruption and also other syndicated organized crime. But I just want to highlight the modus operandi. What will be the offences that he has committed? What will be the serious offence? He has involved in fraud activity, the Macau scam and so on. Okay, so that will be the predicate offence. Whatever proceed that derive from that activity, the illegal proceed, he has cleaned the so-called the money from the fraud activity, apa nama Macau scam so on. He has using some of the business outlet or legitimate business which is belong to some of the individuals, artists and so on. Why? Because to clean the money. Okay, to cuci wang. So that is where kita kata how people involved in money laundering activities. Because money laundering we say is a converting any proceed or property from illegal activity to make it as a legitimate appearance. So that is where kita kata cuci wang or money laundering. You guys have your own business, organization and so on. So that is where we have to ask, you need to know every source of fund that come in or deposited into your bank account, your dealing and transaction. Okay, so this is where what we mentioned about pengubahan wang haram. Nanti I'll try to give more example. I'll just give some of the example first dulu. Okay, so a few years back, okay, I think last year, in April 2021, okay, there was one individual who is Datuk Sri who has been arrested. Why he was arrested? Because he involved in the Project Cartel Syndicate which involved 3.8 billion government punya tender. So of course people will say, hey, this is something to do with corruption. Yes, this is something to do with corruption. But, there is a but. Why? If you can see the structures of the mastermind, how he operated the company, he's the mastermind. He set up 150 companies, but he is not the director of the companies. I just need to share to you guys some of the trend of this. What he did was, he is the mastermind, who is the beneficial owner, where he hired 114 employees to be named as a directors and shareholder for the company. But in terms of controlling of the company, at the end of the day, he's the one who control the company. On paper, legally speaking, the 140 directors or employees, they will be be considered as a director and shareholders. But at the end of the day, the actual owner of the company is belong to the Datuk Sri, who is the beneficial owner. And one of the challenges issue being highlighted, not only in Malaysia, in other countries also, is to what extent that we able to identify the beneficial owner. Guys, if you still remember, last year 2021, people are talking about Pandora Papers. It's not an offense pun kalau you buka account dekat tax haven country. It's not an offense because some of the tax haven countries are offering 0% tax rate. That's why people banyak go for tax evasion. But the issue being highlighted adalah all these people, the money launderers, okay, they try to hide their identities using all the tax haven countries entities. So in the case, the question mark is about the beneficial owner. Okay, so guys, when you are dealing with every parties, whether you are GLCs, entities and so on, To what extent that you really know who are the parties? Eh? You engaging with your vendor, you engaging with your suppliers, you engaging with your business partner. Okay, I have come across with some of my colleagues who are working with NGO. They do not know who is they are working with other countries dekat overseas, Middle East. What they know that is just only based on emails, communication, and also based on the conversation, but have never done checking due diligence to what extent that the entity is doing their business. Okay, so this is another example just to highlight to you guys. This is one of the element that been triggered for money laundering activities. Baik, so kita back to the definition. You guys don't have to worry. I'm not going to teach legal punya definition and so on. So we make it layman term. When we say about money laundering, as I mentioned earlier, it's a converting of the proceed from illegal activity to make it as a legitimate appearance. Why? Because if I'm a money launderer, if I'm a fraudster, if I'm a scammer, I know that the law enforcement agency will go and chasing me who is the culprit for the illegal activity. I just to highlight very interesting story is about Al Capone. How the money laundering derived. I think if you guys have attended any session and so on, I think some of the trainer might sharing this kind of information. But I just want to highlight to you guys what is the important when we talk about money laundering. Di apa nama di Mr. Al Capone, we know that in 1930s, 1920s, he was a goon ataupun kita singkatan organized crime. He is a tycoon. He was a syndicate organized crime mafia gang leader. What he did was he involved in illegal activities, including selling liquors. At that time in Chicago, you want to sell liquors, you have to get license. So meaning to say, when he doesn't have the license, so there is no. So meaning to say the business is illegal. He involved in syndicated organized crime. He involved in smuggling and others. Okay. The law enforcement agencies at that time, they want to arrest him and to charge him in court. But we know, in any case, including in Malaysia, if you want to charge an individual, mana-mana individual, you need to have an evidence. But they don't have the evidence. So Mr. Kapun kata apa? Guys, if you have your evidence, go ahead. Please charge me dekat court. I want to see. Okay, until one day, one of the law enforcement agency, which is Inland Revenue Board, DIRB, DIR, Inland Revenue Team, what they inform to the some sort like macam task force, special task force, dia kata, guys, why not we follow the money trail? Saya kata, what does you mean money trail ni? What does it mean money trail? Because Al Capone involved in illegal activities. Okay, from the dark side, Al Capone involved in illegal activities. Selling liquors without license, involved in tax evasion, involved in smuggling activities, syndicate organized crime. But do you guys realize that actually Al Capone involved in he set up a few legitimate business entity. Okay, laundromat, fast food restaurants, companies, trading and so on. Let's go for a money trail or doing forensic accounting for the legitimate business activities. Okay, that is where they are able to identify, okay, all the business which is legitimate activity ni, the source of fund will derive from illegal activities. So we make it simple. Money trade is about source of fund. Yes, camouflage have a good business entity, shop loss, business running and so on. But do you know the source of fund of the business? Then they find out the source of fund of the business will derive from illegal activities. So that is where, from a money laundering perspective, money laundering is concerned about money trail. They are concerned about source of fund. Kalau if we can compare the Macau scam yang I shared to you earlier with the modus operandi of Al Capone is quite similar. They have a dark side involved in illegal activities, and they will clean their money using a set up business entity which is legally registered with the SSM and so on. Okay, so you able to understand, yeah? So that's why when you have your business entities, I just want to highlight because I've spoken also to some of the entrepreneurs and so on. Somehow they would like to have to make it their bank statement nampak cantik. So they ask their friend, can you deposit 20,000, 20,000, 20,000? Okay, after 1 week, I will return back your money. Why? Because I want to show to the bank that I have a good financial standing and a good bank statement. Good financial standing, a good business and so on. So that is something you have to be careful. Okay, because there is some of the cultures we're saying that, oh, never mind lah, you just deposit the money. So at least when you want to go for financing to the bank will presume that you have a good project, a good business, and have a good financial standing. But in fact, which is not. So that's why you have to be careful. So dalam case money laundering ni, Akapo ni, the IRB managed to follow the money trail and they charge him because of tax evasion. So when we say about money trail in a layman term about source of fund. So whatever entity that you have, whether you are from GLC, you are from private sector, you are from NPO, yayasan and so on, club, please make sure that you identify your source of fund. So that will be the first main point about kita kata the element of money laundering. Okay, how do criminal launder the money? This is where you have to understand. Once you understand the concept of money laundering, then you are able to identify what you can do and so on. Baik. Number one, there must be a serious offence has been committed. Uh, this is where to address. Some people say kata, is it when we say about money laundering, is it reflect to corruption saja? The answer is not. Eh? Under AMLAS Act in Malaysia, kita classify, there is a term kita panggil sebagai serious offence or predicate offence under second schedule of AMLA Act in Malaysia. Okay, to date there ada 425 offences under 51 Act. Not only corruption, it also including the smuggling, it also including the insider trading, corruptions. You are selling, you are kidnapping this harimau Malaya from Pekan. You selling to Thailand's punya market. You also will be charged under money laundering, smuggling, syndicated organized crime, human trafficking, cheating, fraud, Ponzi scheme. Those who are doing illegal scheme, which is not being licensed by Bank Negara, SC, KPD, and KK, and some of the ladies who love to join this so-called kutu fund, main kutu, scheme kutu, that also is illegal. This is also a predicate offence under money laundering. I'll just take one example, very simple. Let's say I'm a scammer, I'm scammer fraudster. Okay, so I have con Malaysians and also have secured roughly about 10 million ringgit Malaysia. So that is the second kita kata predicate offence. So how I launder as a money launderer, how I launder the proceed, there is a three stages: placement, layering, integration. Why placement? Placement is to disturb the illegal proceed daripada source dia. Okay. Then normally I will deposit into the bank dalam financial institution. Okay. Then I will started to do the layering. Why to do layering? From one account I transfer to current account, I purchase gold, I transfer to wire transfer, I make payment to credit card dan sebagainya. Why? Because that is to complicate the tracing of fund. Okay, this is money trail, money trail. And lastly, guys, the money launderers, fraudsters, scammer, what will be their objective when they're involved in illegal activities? Because they want to enjoy the benefit of the money. So how? When they will enjoy the benefit of the money, they will started to enjoy the benefit of the money during the integration punya stage. So that is where something that you have to know. The integration stages is where the money launderers started to purchase luxurious lifestyle. Purchase vehicles and so on. Purchase handbag, okay, jewellery dan sebagainya. So everything that have been purchased using the money is considered sebagai illegal. You just assume, let's say I just took 1 million ringgit, I purchase one Ferrari. I make 10 transfer, online transfer to the car dealer to purchase the Ferrari. For every transaction, there will be a charges against me. Let's say I transfer 10 transaction to the car dealer to purchase the Ferrari, so there is a 10 charges on AMLA charges against me. Okay, that is only for Ferrari saja. Tak masuk lagi the other property. Okay, so that's why I want you guys to understand the concept of money laundering. Okay, let's say we assume that even though I'm a scammer, I took another uh, 200,000 ringgit Malaysia and I give donation to a charities, yayasan or in fact to the religious bodies and so on. Even though it seems that this is a good deed, but you guys have to bear in mind that the source of fund were derived from illegal activities. What kind of activities? That was from illegal activity. That was from fraud activities that have committed. That's why in 2018 we heard in the newspaper that MSCC filed civil forfeiture against 81 respondent, including Yang Muhammad, political party, okay, yayasan dan sebagainya. Why? Matlamat tidak pernah menghalalkan cara.
Cara.
So that's why you have to know. So that's why I kata when you have your own organisation, do not simply receive money. So that's why you have to be careful. Some people might especially those people, the organisation where they involved in JV, joint venture, kata, never mind, I give you my money. I'm as a capital provider, I give you fund, you run the business, and then I want the profit. Okay. If so happen, you take the capital, okay lah, no issue lah. But please know the source of fund. And nanti I will share to you what you have to do. Please know the source of fund and you have to do the profiling on the capital funder. Why? Even though the capital funder, maybe he's the money launderer, but because you are receiver under UMLA Act, not only person yang involved in the money laundering activities, people who are involved in abatement, people who are transferring, receiving, in fact hiding, these are the individuals or party who can be charged under UMLA. So that's why we have to be careful. So I just want to share to you guys, these are the structures of the money laundering in Malaysia. So that's why you have to know your partners, your clients or your partners or any parties that involve with you, vendors, suppliers, and so on. So at least you know that they are not involved in illegal activities. As I mentioned earlier, guys, what was the reason most of the enforcement agency using AMLA? Because under AMLA, they can freeze the individuals or the company's assets. So that one of the biggest, I can say, advantage for the law enforcement agencies. Okay. So these are the impact on the country. If we did not combat the money laundering, including terrorism financing, what will be the impact to the countries? There are four impacts. It will increase the overall rate of the crime that could threaten our national security, especially the cross-border. Inhibit the growth and competitiveness of the economy. Okay. Guys, I just give my example, very simple. For those who are involved, because we know that in Malaysia, for those individuals who involved in remittance services business or money changing business, they need to obtain license from Bank Negara Malaysia. Very simple. When they obtain license from Bank Negara will do the monitoring. They have certain requirements under AMLA that they need to observe. So that is the requirement from Bank Negara. But there are a lot of demand from the market that people wish to have the remittance services. That's why a lot of people, okay, they come up with the illegal remittance activity. Why? Because there is something demand from the markets. I think if I can share to you guys, in 2010, there was one ex-banker who set up his own money changers company, which does not have license from the Bank Negara, and they provide the remittance activities dekat Northern, dekat Northern side. And his client is not retail, It's not a customer from Thailand's citizen who are working in Malaysia ke, nak transfer 300 baht or 500 baht or 1,000 baht. No. The client is a MNC and also a corporation. Okay, a bus, can say a company who which involved in transportation, because we know the bus, they need the spare part, tires and so on. All these spare part tires come from Thailand. And all these companies, they make the remittance via the illegal services. Why? Because there is no red tape. Okay, so what will be the impact for those the remitter who involved in illegitimate business? So they need to obtain license and so on. They have to follow certain procedures and so on. But for illegal remittance services providers, they enjoy the benefit without getting any license from the bank negaras. And increased cost of doing business. This is something that we are talking about, the cost of living and so on, because we know that because of the corruption. Okay. So that is where I just want to highlight to you guys, if we are unable to combat the money laundering, corruption and so on, so it will give the negative impact to the citizen and also to society, including to all of us, including to myself and also yourself. So these are some of the impact. I just share to you guys. Okay, very quick in terms of money laundering in Malaysia. Okay, guys, when AMLA was enacted in Malaysia, it was enacted in 2001 and being enforced in 2002. At that time, dia panggil Anti-Money Laundering Act, AMLA. Okay. And when the first case, Dr. Hamimah was charged in court, a few newspaper in bahasa Malaysia tulis dalam bahasa Malaysia, Dr. Nur Hamimah telah dituduh di bawah Akta Pendobian Wang Haram. So dia translate directly, literally, money laundering kepada
Dobby.
pendobian wang haram. So letak gambar washing machine tengah spin baju, spin duit kan. But true, that is the concept of money laundering. So dia kata no, actually it's not pendobian wang haram, it's a pengubahan wang haram. Okay, and 2006, 2007, there was another amendment. Might be you guys tertanya, kenapa kita cakap, when we say about AMLA, dia mesti kembar. Anti-money laundering and terrorism financing. Why?
Mm.
Okay. If you guys still remember, in 2001, there was the WTC punya attack. Okay, World Trade Center kena attack 2001.
Mm.
After the incidents of the World Trade Center, within one night, it comes it comes a priority to all country in terms of combating terrorism. So that's why Malaysia also kita when the government of Malaysia amend the act, so they kembarkan anti money laundering and also counter terrorism financing. You go to any country, so dia akan dengan MLCFT or MLCTF, so dia kembar. Money laundering, terrorism financing ni akan bersama. Because why?
Mm.
Because both illegal activity is involved in transaction. So this is something. And 2014, the Bank Negara amend another amend sekali lagi di AMLA Act. So they include the wording of proceed of unlawful activities. Why? Because the trend of the money launderer. Because based on the Akta AMLA, the money launderer ni is quite smart sebelum ni. If let's say lah dia purchase the Ferrari macam tadi kata 1 million, then I know that later on I kena tangkap nanti So what I did adalah I jual kereta tersebut. The subject matter does not exist anymore.
Mm.
So by virtue of this process of unlawful activities, let's say I took the 100,000 from the illegal proceed and I enjoy pergi travelling to overseas. When I went to the overseas punya trip, 100,000 cover my chartered flight, limousines, hotels and so on. I balik Malaysia, I been charged in court. So I told yang Arif, Hakim, I kata, ya Arif, I don't have 100,000 to return back to the government because why? I dah belanja hangus. I dah spend dah
Spend.
kat sana semua. Dah pergi Stanley Valley semua. So tak ada, zero. So the government, the court kata apa? Nazri, you dah spend 100,000 because that is considered as a proceed from unlawful activity. Please pay back 100,000 to government. If you don't have 100,000, no worries. Please check in dalam penjara. Okay. So because that will be the emerging trend. So that's why kata-kata instrumentalities dan sebagainya. So that's why I think the challenges nowadays when we talk about money laundering. So we are saying about not only one of the trigger event for money laundering ni, I can share to you guys adalah people using cash. Kalau you guys want to know that, that's why the reason why the bank negara are moving from cash based kepada online payment. At one time we have check, then bank negara is not recommended the industry to use check anymore, and you use the online payments, kita ada QR pay dan sebagainya. Why? Because this is logical thinking. Kalau you pernah dengar cash is king, okay, the only profession, I cakap profession that love to use cash is only money launderer saja. Except lah kita kata the money changer lah, because money changer they have to deal with cash punya transaction, ringgit Malaysia or foreign currency. Other than money services business yang menggunakan cash is a money launderer and also fraudster. Why? Because there is no money trail. That's why we heard people kata cash is king. So, apa sebenarnya cash is king ni? So, orang kata cash is king. When you have money, you can buy anything. But from money laundering perspective, yes, you have money, you can buy anything. But another one thing, apa dia? The second thing is when you have money, when you have cash, you can buy anything, and at the same time, there is no money trail. When there is no money trade, it's hard for the MACC to charge you, it's hard for the PDRM to investigate and charge you, and it's hard for the Bank Negara NAC and also other law enforcement agency to conduct the investigation. Why? Paperless. There is no money trail. So that's the reason why people are using the people are using the cash base. That's why dulu cash threshold report Bank Negara 50,000 and it has been reduced to 25,000. Why reduce to 25,000? An analogy. What kind of business that require cash setiap hari kecuali money changer? What kind of business that are involved? So that is one of the examples way yang kita kata, yalah of course some people who are involved in macam traders kan, pasar malam and also sayur market and so on, of course they are involved in cash and some of them dah start pakai QRP dan sebagainya, but we are talking about the volume. The volume would be not as significant as a other business. Okay. So these are some of the ideas about the ML regime in Malaysia. Okay. This is where, as I mentioned earlier, what will be the role of Bank Negara? The Bank Negara is the competent authority under UMLAS. Minister of Finance has given mandate kepada Bank Negara as a competent authority. Why Bank Negara? Kenapa tak bagi MSCC, SPRM or Polis? Because dekat Bank Negara, there is one department, namanya adalah Financial Intelligence Unit or Financial Intelligence Enforcement Department. Because of the FIU function is within the Bank Negara. That's why the competent authority adalah Bank Negara. But if kita ambil from ASEAN perspective, the role of FIU ni tak banyak dengan Central Bank. Contoh just I to you guys. Indonesia, Australia, independent. Because I'm doing research on that. So the FIU is stand alone. Thailand stand alone, Philippines stand alone, Singapore, our neighboring countries, Singapore is within their Commercial Affairs Department. Commercial Affairs Department ni lebih kurang macam our JSJK lah, Police Department. Commercial Affairs Department. There are few countries yang ada the FIU role is within the Bank Negara. For example, Malaysia and also Brunei. Brunei follow our punya landscape. So that's why in order to combat money laundering, it requires the law enforcement agencies and also the reporting institution and also some of the policy maker. Okay, these are the reporting institution which has been gazetted as a reporting institution under AMLA. Meaning to say, when they are dealing with the customers and so on, they need to know their customers. They have to do customer due diligence. They have to raise suspicious transaction report to Bank Negara, and they should have a proper and structured training. Plus, they must have policies in terms of ML. These are the industries. Why industries? These are some of the trend of the industries that kita tengok vulnerable threat towards the money laundering. Okay. Recently, kalau kita tengok some of the cases incident ni yang happen dan sebagainya, the money launderers yang berlaku or the money laundering activities yang berlaku, there are a few instances cases yang mana money launderer got assistance. From whom? From the professional service providers. Who are the professional service providers? The lawyers, accountant and also company secretary. Okay, so I do not want to elaborate more detail on this. But the pattern of the transaction, because most of the companies, they try to get the assistance from the lawyers, accountant and company secretary to conceal, to hide their identities and in fact to conceal the illegal activities. That's why the lawyers and accountant also and also companies are being gazetted as a reporting institution under AMLA. Because there is an emerging trend, people are using these professional services, especially for tax evasion. Kalau you tengok balik in the case of Pandora Papers, before Pandora Papers, Panama Papers 2016, Paradise Papers 2017, and also Pandora Papers punya issues, all these this kind of illegal activities, siapa yang tolong, siapa yang bantu set up, yang tolong set up adalah the lawyers and also accountant. So that will be that you need to be careful. Okay, just to highlight very quick one. This based on the National Risk Assessment 2020, these are some of the major threat or crime dekat Malaysia. Fraud, as I mentioned earlier, every day we heard in newspapers, orang kena scam, Macau scam. So nowadays, in term of fraud, the victim, regardless whether they are from urban area ke, from rural area, cikgu, banker, semua kena scam. Corruption, smuggling, illicit drug trafficking, and also organised crime. And also some of the tax offences dan sebagainya lah, lari bayar cukai dan sebagainya. So these are some of the emerging trend. Termasuklah environmental crime. Okay. So I do not want to prolong on some of the example. Tapi I just want to highlight to you guys that when we say about money laundering, it's not only corruption. Dia boleh berlaku berbagai jenayah-jenayah lain because we have about 451 offences which may be deemed as a serious offence under money laundering. Okay, these are the best, the most important part because you have your organisation. How to prevent your organisation from being used by the money launderers? There are 4 steps. I can say a quick guide like this is some sort like a quick guide. Number 1, please make sure that you conduct identification and verification on your client, your partners, and also your stakeholder. That will be number 1. Number 2, please conduct name session screening. Number 3, please conduct due diligence. And lastly, please raise the red flag of suspicious transaction. Okay, when we say about identify and verify your parties, meaning to say for every entities, sorry, when you are engaging with your partner, your capital funder, for example, or you're doing business with any entities and sebagainya, have you identified the entities or the individuals, the directors, and have you validated their information? Why? Because number 1, we want to prevent from identity theft. This is something that you have to be careful. Regardless whether Malaysian or foreigner, especially foreigner lagi, you have to be careful. What will be the basis of your identification? I always mention dalam my talk, I cakap, in 2019, kita ambil lesson learn or ibrah pengajaran apa yang berlaku di Penang when a few JPN officer were charged in court because of corruption. National Registration Department. Why they were charged in court? Because this group of people, they are selling their Malaysian identity to a group of tourists from China mainland daripada harga RM50,000 hingga RM1 million Malaysia. Whose identity being sold at that time? Those Malaysian identity yang dah meninggal. Those people who already passed away. Okay, bang, nama you ni sesuai dengan ni, you ambil ni. So now you duduk dekat Penang. Please, please make sure you have to identify your customer. That will be number 1. Number 2, please conduct name essential screening. We know that regardless whether your staff, in fact your staff and also your stakeholder and also your parties that involved with you. Simple, a quick check. Saya you buat employee punya background screening dan sebagainya, please check whether your parties, your partners ni, is there any blacklisted tak under Ministry of Home Affairs. Dalam Ministry of Home Affairs, dia ada list of kita panggil sebagai domestic terrorist. Number 1. Number 2, you need to check on United Nations Security Council punya United Nations Security Council punya resolution. You have to check. You can do manually. Okay, you buka MOHA punya website, then you can search the names, including UNSC pun you can conduct manually. But dekat luar sana, dekat market, there are a few companies who are providing the software system and so on. So much more easier if you subscribe the system. Because you have to know, if let's say you find out that one of the directors of the company linked to the terrorist organization, that is where you have to stop the relationship. Number 3, please conduct due diligence. Okay, due diligence very simple. I selalu cakap macam ni. Have you challenged the customers punya information? The tricky part dalam CDD ni, when we ask, kata, have you conduct due diligence tak dengan your parties, your stakeholders, partners, customer, clients, so on. So people will say yes. But you have to bear in mind, the due diligence process is not just tick box exercise. Kalau dalam financial institution ni kata, there are 9 requirement that you have to get all this information sebagainya. But please, when you obtain all this information, please validate the information. You need to challenge the information. Nowadays, how to avoid, from being involved dengan money laundering dan sebagainya. Dia kata, this is my partner. You tengok, my partner punya company ABC Sedang Berhad, which is registered with SSM. Okay. And these are the information. When you run through the SSM punya information, please validate. Meaning to say, you able to gauge, okay, whether there is a potential threat towards a money laundering. Let's say if the company kata ABC Sedang Berhad, nature of business is something to do with agriculture, peladangan, because you nak involve dengan dia buat peladangan. And when you see dekat address, registered address ataupun business address, alamat dia adalah alamat rumah apartmen di Jalan Sentul, Kuala Lumpur. For me, that will be suspicious. Why suspicious? Because the business entity's address does not match consistent with the nature of the business. This is where selalu people will say kata, never mind lah, okay, kita okay je because SSM. Dia selalu kata, dia register SSM is registered, but you have to conduct your due diligence. And please bear in mind, due diligence is not a tick box exercise. So this is something that you have to bear in mind. Bukan kata, we have all this information, SSM, so meaning to say he is okay. No. What you need to do, please conduct a proper due diligence. Meaning to say, you need to check the information and you need to challenge the information whether the information is okay or there is something, kita kata, something vague or something keraguan based on customers punya information. Okay. Sama tadi macam dalam kes yang kata Project Carlton 3.8 billion tu, that will be the same story where people are unable to identify the companies punya detail. This is where something you have to, and do not rely too much on customers punya ataupun customers punya appearance, lifestyle ataupun assurance. If I may to conclude, I just want to highlight to you guys one of the incident cases yang berlaku dalam financial institution. But it's quite classic case, but I think it can be a good lesson learned, a case study. If you heard about Deutsches Bank, a few years back in 2012, Deutsches Bank got fined by the New York financial investigator 420 millions kena fine. What was the reason? The Deutsches Bank kena fine 420 million. It's a lot of money. Kenapa? Because the failure of the when the investigator started to conduct the investigation, so they kata, what was the root cause of the failure of the Deutsche Bank? Is it because the people? Is it because of the culture? Is it because of the system? Is it because of the policy dan sebagainya? So that you know one thing, what happened to Deutsche Bank? They do have the policies, ML policies, know your customers policies, screening policies. They have the system dan sebagainya. Everything intact. So what would be the root cause of the failure? The failure of the reason why the bank kena fine because of the people and culture. Why people and culture? Okay, number one, dalam polisi, ML polisi kata, before you onboard the customer, you need to validate the customer information. Mandatory information must be submitted. No different documentation. Okay, but when the bank officers entertain the customer kata, I just brought with me 8 document. Another 1 document missing. Can I submit tomorrow? The bank officer kata, if I based on the policy, I have to reject you. I cannot onboard you. But because based on my discretion as the bank officer, because I know you very well, kawan lama, never mind, I onboard this our customer. Assurance, some people, they because of kawan-kawan lama, kawan sekolah, tak apalah, tak perlu check lah kawan sekolah lama-lama, tak apalah, you transfer to me. That will be number one. Number two, dia kata apa? Dia kata, when the customer on board, did you verify the customer information? Have you done due diligence? And the bank officer saying kata, yes, we have done the due diligence. How? You tengok our checklist. All tick. We need to say we have complied with our requirement. So at that time, when the investigator started to investigate, then they kata, yeah, whatever that you are doing is just only a tick box exercise. All the information yang you upload, you take is just only a tick box exercise where you never validate the customers punya information. What was the reason? When they started to check, they find out that rupanya all the information submitted by the customer are fake information. Okay. That's why you rely too much on your friends lah, because you thought, never mind, I know him very well. This is kawan lama, kawan sekolah dan sebagainya. But you did not validate. You just only tick box exercise. Because of that, the bank got fined. The bank allow for illegal military trading scheme. The value of the illegal military trading scheme is about, if I'm not mistaken, about 2 billion. That's why the bank got fined almost dekat 500 million US dollar. And lastly, guys, in order to protect your organization, please, sorry, you are able to understand some of the ML red flag dalam your organization. For example, corruption. Corruption, you able to identify what are some of the examples of the red flag of the corruption, that your staff might be involved in corruption dan sebagainya. So dalam money laundering juga, there are a few red flag that you able to gauge whenever there is a red flag, there is a possibility or probability that the individuals, the partner might involve in illegal activities. So there are 4 steps. Eh? Please identify and verify your stakeholders, your partners. Please conduct the name sanction screening to ensure that they are clean. And also please conduct due diligence. And also lastly, we are saying about the ML red flag. So that will be
Cik
the
Nazri,
yes.
what if there's a situation that I wanted to open a business, right? So
Okay.
I have a business partner to invest, and later on I find out this business partner, he claims he's from a very wealthy family, inherit lots of money. So there's no question about him, because as you say, I know him personally. Then the way the business went on for 5 years, and we did very well in our business. Later we found out the money came from these illegal activities, money laundering, as to say lah. Will I be in trouble, or will my company be closed? Because I heard MACC have free 750 bank account, some of 75 million ringgit in
Hmm.
Malaysia. So what's now? What's going to happen to me? Yeah.
Okay, Cik Sabi. Thank you for the question. So that's why, if you still remember, dalam the first slide earlier, I did
Mm,
present on this money trail.
mm,
So how the law enforcement, the MSCC, the police, and also the other law enforcement agency will do the investigation, they
mm,
will follow the money trail.
mm,
So of course, as I mentioned earlier, under AMLA, they are allowed to freeze the individuals or the entities accounts. So they will start to freeze first. Then they will started to conduct the investigation about the money trail. So that's why I think
mm,
what will be the preventive measures is, from day one, please conduct due diligence to what extent that the company
mm,
is doing their business.
mm,
Sustainability, betul ke dia ada duit bagi business yang stable, or might be the company actually is doing involved in forex ke trading ke investment. So we should
mm,
know.
mm, mm,
So because at the end of the day, the money will be deposited into our company's account. So we want to
mm,
run our business. So
mm.
this is something that we have to be careful.
Okay, I understand. And because of the crypto technology, now cryptocurrency, right? People have
Yes.
this Bitcoin e-voucher. These all digital footprints. Is it traceable? Do you think?
Okay. Uh, there is some kita kata, how to say, this some discussion lah.
Yeah.
First, number one, as I mentioned earlier, that all these digital currency, that will be number one. Have to make it clear, it's not a legal tender in Malaysia. I
Mm,
still remember when the AC, yeah, we know that the AC have come a few digital exchanges which has been registered. For example, Luno, which is registered
mm,
and so on. So, but all these digital, either Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on, is not
mm,
a legal tender in Malaysia. Okay,
mm,
I still remember at one time somewhere when the government announced about something to do with digital currency, and digital exchange in Malaysia is also be classified as one of the reporting institution under AMLA. So there was one car dealer kata, okay, we want to offer our car, you can choose to pay in cash. Sorry, you want to pay in ringgit Malaysia, or you want to pay using Bitcoin.
mm,
Then later on, there was a statement issued by Bank Negara. No, the legal tender in Malaysia is still ringgit Malaysia. You are not
mm,
allowed to use digital currency to make payment for beli kereta ke rumah dan sebagainya, because
mm,
legal tender is only ringgit Malaysia. But you have to
mm,
understand, for what reason you want to involve in digital currency. So everyone have their own different, for
mm,
investment and so on and sebagainya. But of course, there is a risk, and the
mm,
risk you have to aware. I just want to highlight, when we say about digital currency, Bitcoin is came from Japan to, I think, somewhere 2012 or 2014. The government of Japan at that time started to not stop lah. I mean to say, slowing down the cryptocurrency. Why? They are review their policy. Why? because it's not easy to trace. That is one of the challenges for using the digital currency. Based on the Japan Financial Intelligence Unit at that time, there were
Okay.
three major events or crime which has been ataupun deficiencies using the digital currencies. Number one, a lot of people using digital currencies to purchase the online child pornographic material. That will be number
Oh,
one.
oh my God.
It was in Japan. So I believe I think in 2020, when we have the MCO order and so on, a statistic has been shown. Okay, not only Japan, Malaysia also majority people are watching and also spending money for online apa nama child pornographic material. That be number one. So that was being highlighted by Japan in 2014. Number two, because of fraud activity. And number three, at that time, they realized when in terms of documentation, we say about know your customers information, all the information submitted by the customer, they mentioned that they are staying in Japan. But those people yang involved in the trading activities, it's just only 40% are residing in Japan. Remaining 60% are residing outside from Japan. So
Mm.
that's why we have to know for what reason. Of course, there is a benefit and also there is a harm lah. Dia punya ni macam Cuba involved in the drug narcotic. So that's
Mm.
why the issues with the FBI and CIA especially when they want to investigate because Cuba they make payment for armed trafficking and also drug trafficking activities using the digital currencies. So there's something that
Mm.
kata it's not easy to trace. So this is some of the challenges for the law enforcement agencies also.
Oh, okay, interesting, interesting. We have a question, Nazri, from the chat. Number one,
Okay.
from Mr. Hasnol. How can business or organization get support? Can you please give an advice on this?
Uh, okay. Uh, how can business or organization get support? Okay. First, number one, I think every individuals, every entities or business organization, they have their different platform and also the objective. So number one, for me, if you don't have the policies, please come up with your own policies. So even though, for example, the business are not being gazetted as a reporting institution under AMLA, but it's good. When you come up with your policy, meaning to say, number one, what you need to do is to do the risk assessment for your own organization. If you are a company
Mm.
involved in for example, in business of trading, manufacturing and so on, you able to gauge what will be your risk assessment. What is your risk appetite? Then you're able to draft the policies. And once you have the
Mm.
proper the ML policy, number two, of course, you have to make sure that you have a training and awareness to the staff, so at least the staff are aware. These are something that you have to be to alert. Meaning to say, when someone will say, kata, we want to partner with your company, but I do not want to make payment via online payment ataupun check, but I will give cash. I will give you fund. I will provide the capital as a capital funder, but I will give you cash saja. Okay, so this is something that
Mm.
that's trigger to us lah. So you
Suspicious.
must
Mm.
suspicious. So that will
Mm.
be for that lah.
Yeah, yeah. And there's another question. I think I need to take this the last question because we are running out of time. Cik Nazri from Mr. Tan Min Chong. Is
Okay.
there any requirement of on frequency of due diligence exercise for a recurring vendor or JV partner?
Okay.
Yeah.
There are two things that you have to.
Thank you.
Number one, it depends on your risk assessment. If let's say, as I mentioned earlier, what kind of business that you're involved, number one. Number two, based on your vendors punya assessment. If you feel that your vendor need to be reviewed every 2 tahun sekali, for example, then go ahead. You have to review. But dalam masa sama, at the same time, if you find out that there is any specific event trigger, let's say you are engaged with one ABC Sembah is supplying barang to your companies and you have a good JV partner with the company. Suddenly today you read in newspaper there was a case which has been highlighted that the company involved in smuggling activities. So that is considered sebagai trigger event. So what you need to do, you have to review balik their due diligence the company. Then you have to make your call, your decision. Now one of our partner involved in smuggling activities and has been charged in court. What we have to do? The next course of action. Are we going to continue the relationship or are we going to exit the relationship? So at least you able to identify based on the risk assessment. So kalau you involve for example those involved in for example uh, high technology business for example in the defense industry, so they will be considered as a high risk. Then I would suggest that you have to review annually. It depends on the customers punya risk appetite and also based on the profiling of the customer.
All right. Thank you so much. Uh, I think we are about the end. Thank you so much, Azri. I hope everyone have enjoyed this amazing presentation. I hope that later on, just by the way, later on, Chinazi will be one of our, inshallah, our special speaker and presenter for our end of year summit in KL. Inshallah, so hopefully you can meet him in person in KL. Inshallah. So I think Tony will share the information more. Yeah, later on. That's about it for the session today. I think I'm going to pass the floor to Tony. Tony.